Hello, my fabulous friends. I hope you're doing well. Well, there seems to be a bit of confusion between aliens and attachments. So, in this lesson, we're going to find out the difference. So, a lot of it could be just language. So, when I think aliens, I think little green men, little gray men from outer space, right? So, here's our Earth and here they are. And they come in their flying saucers and they come to take over Earth or some such thing like as that. When I think of attachments, I think of energies that already exist on Earth. And some of them are around, but they're just energies kind of floating around. Like how you can see orbs, right? That doesn't mean it's an alien. It means it's a piece of energy. And what they love to do is attach themselves to a human. Otherwise, they have no form. They're an orb. They're a piece of energy. Like if you've ever been sitting somewhere and all of a sudden you feel like a chill, that's a little piece of energy coming through you. Um, you know, or like you just sense something is around. That's just energy. That's not an alien. So I just want to be really clear because when I say I don't believe in aliens, I don't believe there are people in spaceships that want to come down to Earth and take over Earth and do anything like that. I think everything we have is in Earth. Unidentified flying objects are the humans that live below Earth, below what we live on the surface, and I believe there's human families that live below, and we have evidence of this. And I think as epochs come and go, some are discovered and some aren't. I mean, what's going on in the Antarctic? Many people have said it's warm under the ice. There's actually people living under the ice in the Antarctic and Antarctica. And there was, I think, what was it called? Operation Paperclip, maybe? I don't know. I'm not that well versed in any of that kind of stuff. So I think that's what UFO, unidentified flying objects, but I don't think they've come from the stars. I think we have different factions of humans living on this planet we call Earth. Some live below, some live above. And again, this is no judgment whatsoever. Some are quite primitive, some are quite advanced. It's all types of different humans living on the planet Earth. So, what are attachments? Are attachments aliens? No, they are energy. All energy is dual. All energy is dual. If if there's night, there's day. If there's hot, there's cold. If there's male, there's female. And that's like everything in our life. There's hard, there's soft. I mean, you could go on and on and on. It's opposites, right? And so when you have a good energy person, we're all born with really good energy. We're all born positive. And unfortunately, decisions that we make, then we start to see negative people. Now, how do you get these negative attachments? Well, there's drug use, extreme alcoholism, extreme beliefs, and sometimes if the mother is already in a negative situation, she does pass that information down to her child. And the child then has to struggle to get back to his natural state of positive. So that last auto writing I did with John Candy, and he talked about mass extinction events, that what they do is they cleanse the soul. So here's your big soul. They cleanse your soul of these negative attachments, this negative energy. And generally, once you get one of these attached to you, it's like trying to get rid of all your blood to try to get rid of it. And sadly, that very, very few people can shake it off while they're still living on earth. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it is so difficult. Especially if there's been, as a child, you had some kind of abuse, um, that negative. They talk a lot about why they actually sodomize children, and that energy is almost impossible to get rid of. And then that child becomes a negative aspect in our life. And unfortunately, what's going on right now in the world is the negatives are what we call evil, what we call Satan. And it's just because once they get a stronghold and a tipping point, right? You think if we're on a teeter totter and we are balanced, and the good, perhaps even the good is a little bit better than the bad, the evil, we can keep them down here. We can keep the pressure down here by laws, by morals, by community standards, and we're keeping them down, we're keeping them down. But eventually, what's happened is the teeter totter has swung this way, and the entities are now in control. And the ones of us who are saying, what about standards? What about morals? What about, basic goodness? And sadly, we are slowly losing this war. We are. Let's just be honest. What they're doing to children is a real bellwether of how our society's going. And I think once they got an inch, where's that saying? Give them an inch and they'll take a mile. I think that's what's happened, by importing people who don't have good morals, who possibly already, have done some things that triggered the negative, the attachment, and they import them, and now they are breeding. Remember, I said sometimes if the mother is already in a negative place, she can pass that on to the child, and the child is starting one step back. All children are born innocent, and that's absolutely the truth. Some children are born with an opening to an attachment, and those attachments love getting them young. Once you get them young, you've got them forever. They don't know any different. They don't know that they have to shake it off. So, in that auto writing, there's going to be a mass extinction, like how there was, like John Candy said, like during the Black Plague. After the Black Plague came the Renaissance. The good, the creative, the sane were in control again. And the attachments were basically obliterated, allowing for this creative expression of life. And you think about it, you think about after World War One and Two, especially after World War Two, look at after that, the advancements man made. Now we went to the moon, right? The computers that came out now, you could argue what's good or what's bad about that. I'm not here to discuss that. I'm just showing you after a mass event like that, souls are cleansed and then returned back in positive without the attachment. Now, can your attachment stay on your soul? Absolutely. And then you kind of become like an earthbound energy, and you become a negative earthbound energy. This is the ones that use so-called haunted house, or putting thoughts into people's heads. Like you think schizophrenia, right? Son of Sam. Oh, the devil made me do it. Well, that's just an earthbound entity that did not want to be cleansed and kept their attachment. So what really do the attachments do? Well, like I said, if you are, you commit a lot of crimes, you're in a lot of drugs, your alcoholism, you've been severely abused, especially as a child, any which way, um, it allows like a tear in your soul, almost like an opening, and it just attaches like a tick, or it's like it's almost got super glue and it's sticking to your soul. And what happens is it starts to override your thoughts. It blocks any kind of good. So that's why some people have such a difficult time getting over drugs and alcohol, is because the attachment doesn't want them to do that, because the attachment knows that that would be the end of it. So think of an attachment as a parasite. Attachments are cancer. All cancers are parasites, according to my sources. Attachments are cancer, and I can't figure out why a parasite would want to kill its host. And I think I've come up with the answer is that if the attachment doesn't kill the host, then the host can kill the attachment. So it's eat or be eaten. Also, like once the host passes away, the attachment is free again to attach to somebody else, right? Um, so what you can call these attachments archons, the devil, evil, Satan, all of those would actually apply. So that's the difference between an alien and an attachment. Attachments can come from outside of Earth. Absolutely, they can, but they're just coming as an energy, right? They're just coming as an energy blob. Um, you know, and it just happens to get through. There's a hole in the Earth's atmosphere somewhere, and it happens to be able to get in, or attaches itself to something, a meteorite, right? There's many stories about a meteorite being recorded, and after that, many people get sick. So it can attach itself to something like that, but that does not make it an alien. I want you to understand that. All right, so that's the difference between attachments and aliens. Now, some of you might be wondering, how do you get rid of these attachments? And I'm going to say it takes a lot of, the person has to want to. We've got someone in our family, I'm pretty sure she has an attachment. Just the nastiness, and that just wasn't who she was before. And she did dabble in some unscrupulous things, let's put it that way. And like her aura's changed. And how do you get rid of that? Well, number one, the person has to realize that they have an attachment. That's the first step. Like no different than alcoholic or drug addict. You have to realize you have a problem. So you have to realize you have this attachment. And then it basically comes down to cleansing your soul, praying to your angels, praying, doing good, right? Good, overriding some of the negative thoughts, right? So overriding those thoughts about, oh, I should steal this so I can buy drugs, right? By getting off of and changing your karma about why you allowed this attachment in. Perhaps you were a lifelong criminal. Well, maybe you can start to turn things around by, speaking to young people who want to get into crime, or and telling them to avoid it, and doing good like that. But it's a lot of spiritual cleaning, and you have to trust that your angels can help you with this because they want to. They either do it now or they do it when you transition. So you might as well make your life a little bit better. And you've heard me say an ordinary life is a blessed life. Well, if you have an ordinary life, the attachments can't get you, can they? That's where that comes from. An ordinary life is a blessed life because you've done nothing to open those doors to the attachments. And the attachments will continue to exist forevermore because, like I said, we live in duality, and it's just to keep them away. And it's no different than if you want a bath, you don't just put in hot water. You have to put in a little bit of cool water, right? And you don't want just all cold water. You have to put in a little bit of warm water. So it's the balance of, what's in control here. You want a warm bath? Well, more hot water has to be in control. Maybe you want a cool bath. It's a hot day and you want to cool off. Well, then more cold water has to be in control. So that's why you don't want them 50-50, because that just turns out to be lukewarm. You always want the good. So what that takes, I don't know. It's going to take a lot though. I think, to tell you the truth, I think it's more like this. This is the teeter-totter. I actually think we've kind of hit rock bottom. Um, this is your Jeffrey Epstein's. This is your transition people pushing that. This is the loony left. Nothing wrong with having left-wing political. It's when you become lunatic about it. I honestly think I don't know what it's going to take. John Candy said there's going to be a mass death event to balance it out again. Because remember, you're born innocent, you're born good. So to get rid of all of it and then bring in the good again. So, anyways, quick little lesson on attachments. The difference between attachments and aliens. Attachments are just energy. And if you think you've got one, then get cleaning your chakras, your aura, ask your angels to help, ground yourself, start to do a lot of sunbathing that likes the dark. They like to keep you away from all your friends and family. I think that's why a lot of the ghosting is going on. Of people all of a sudden not talking to their family. I think it has more to do, their attachment is putting that thought into their head because they don't want to be spotted. They don't want to be told, I think you have an attachment, or who, right? And who, or just, call it out. All right. Thank you very much for watching. What do you think? Do you think there's aliens, or do you think there's attachments? Please take good care. See you online. Bye for now.